Well, hi there, Michael.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm grand. And do you know the most exciting thing that's happened to us?
What's that?
We won an award.
Oh,
The Florida Weekly Flamingo
yes.
Award for Best New Podcast of 2026.
Well,
Top of mind, Florida.
yeah.
That would be us.
And thanks to our great team with Comar that helps makes it so.
Absolutely. Without Comar, why, we'd look pretty short. Anyway, Florida Weekly gave us this nice award for
Good
Best
stuff.
New Podcast of 2026. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, no, I was very, very proud of that. Proud to work with the entire team. You and I have been knocking around doing this stuff for, 15 plus years now, if you include all the years with WPTV, and now over a year, or coming up on our year.
I think I'm seeing an Academy Award or a Golden Globe in our future.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hold your horses there. Hold your horses. I tell you what I'm seeing. We're right in the middle of a special session. Talk about that. Property tax relief. Sounds fun. Sounds interesting. And we're going to see what comes out of it this week. But it's got a lot of impact potentially for all Floridians.
Yeah, the Florida legislature is looking at it even as we speak. This was Ron DeSantis' grand idea. He wants to start out increasing the Homestead exemption to $250,000, and then quickly after that increasing it to $500,000.
Who wouldn't love that?
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, I'd reduce my taxes. Local governments and county governments are going to start having fits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the problems with this is sort of classic DeSantis. You know, throw out the big idea, push the legislature as hard as you can to make them adopt what you think, but don't do the basic research. Don't go in and, come to a county or a city, several of them, look at their budgets, study how they spend it. Is there waste in county and city budgets? Sure, we know there is. There always is. But look at it. Then take your example of reducing the homestead exemption and see what impact that directly would have on a handful of counties and cities as an experiment. Study it. They don't do that. They throw out the big idea, and frankly, who's going to say no to having their property taxes reduced?
Well, they may say no when they hear what the impact will be. I had a chance to talk to Joe Abruzzo, the county administrator for Palm Beach County. He said, listen, I need to see how this all shakes out. But he gave an example. Now, they're talking about if this happens, if lawmakers approve it, and if voters approve it in November. A lot of ifs there. But if
let me note real quick, it takes 2/3 of the legislature to put this on the ballot.
And 60% of voters.
They're not passing it themselves. They're offering up a constitutional amendment.
That's
and it takes 60% of the voters.
Yeah.
I will also note that there's a supermajority in the House and the Senate that are Republicans. So even if all of the Democrats voted against this in the legislature, as long as the Republicans stay unified, it would pass and go to the voters in November.
Well, they're going to have a lot to consider. Joe Abruzzo, county administrator, Palm Beach County, said, note that police services and fire services would not be part of this, would not be impacted. But he said, let's take that argument. He said, I've got 30 different departments, $609 million budget for those departments. Your roads, your libraries, your parks, recreation, information services. We're all connected today in this wonderful world of IT. He said all of that and much more. Special services for those in need, $609 million. He said people cannot begin to imagine the gigantic impact. He said I could be looking at cuts of 50% in that budget. So he said, when you want to complain about traffic in Palm Beach County and the local need to do its part to keep our roads up, and I know you and I talk a lot about traffic all the time. When you want to talk about your end of helping keep up parks, recreation, beachfront, all of that and much more, he said, this is unbelievable. He said at one point to me, he said, if there was ever a poster child for if it ain't broke, don't fix it, this is it. And he said what you said, Brian. Joe Abruzzo, again, county administrator, Palm Beach County, said, listen, I get it. Who wants to pay taxes? He said, but the reality is that we have to have the money to pay for these services. And he and others are pointing out, think of smaller communities. We're talking at the county level. Think of a community like Belle Glade. Think of municipalities. Some municipalities, this was not Mr. Abruzzo's words, but you could see a scenario where some of them have to fold because they don't have enough money as is. And then with even more cuts, you could have municipalities that go belly up. So it's a lot to consider. And yeah, tax cut sounds great. And many will say, I'm all for it. And so be it. But to your point, it will be I think one of the most consequential votes Floridians ever make. Is that too much to say?
No, they're also talking about limiting future property tax assessments on businesses and to create a more stable tax environment for local business. So you're not just talking about reducing Homestead. You're talking about reducing taxes on businesses. And they've also in this past legislative session, in the budget, and we'll talk more about that in a different episode, but they're talking about sales tax exemption for gun silencers. Well, I know there's a big demand for gun silencers out there, but meanwhile, what we're going to see if this, and look, this is going to ultimately, if the legislature passes this, it goes to the voters in November.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be on the voters.
Mm-hmm.
So 60% of the voters have to approve this. And it's one of these issues they really need to think about and really think about the consequences. Because another thing that the local governments around the state are saying, you're going to pay with those free beaches, we're going to have parking meters there. That park that you go to, you have free access, you're going to have to pay to go there. Are you going to have to pay more for garbage pickup? Are you going to have to pay more for a whole host of services? And that flooded street that everybody complains about, well, whatever repairs and things that they need to do those
Got to put them off.
Streets, put them off or not do them at all.
So given all that, Brian, what amazes me is that we're sitting here in early June and we've known one way or the other, this has been batted about back and forth, that we haven't already heard a hue and cry from cities and counties across Florida. That's what amazes me.
Well, I think we're about to. I think especially if the legislature passes it, I suspect that that they know there's very little they can do in the House and Senate. And also, Ron DeSantis is holding on to the biggest baseball bat he's got to use to swing at the heads of the House and Senate leadership and individual members. He timed this special session on Homestead while he still has to look at the overall budget
Mm-hmm.
and do his vetoes.
Right.
So if you oppose him during this special session on his Homestead,
Yeah, there goes your favorite bill.
2 weeks from now, boom.
Yeah.
That special amount of dough that you needed for that special project in your home district, gone.
Is this any way to run the third most populous state in the union? I mean, we didn't get a lot of this done. You would think this consequential debate would have happened regular session. You would think that a budget for a state this size would have been done regular session. You would think congressional redistricting, consequential too, would have been done regular session, and yet we keep having these pop-ups, these one-offs, these special sessions for this. Seems a funny way to run a giant state.
Well, it's also a dramatic, and there, God knows there's been many of them, dramatic changes in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
The Republican Party for decades believed in local control,
Yeah.
believed in local government, that Tallahassee and Washington should have as little to say about what's going on in counties and cities as possible. And that the legislature was there for big, broader, statewide issues. But when it came to running local government, running local issues, by golly, Democrats need to learn to keep their hands off of it. Well, hello.
Yeah. Everything has made in Tallahassee stamped on it now.
Oh, yeah. They have already reduced the power of local governments. They've gone in directions that nobody would have ever dreamed about 10 years ago. And this... and this is sort of the classic Governor DeSantis stunt. He knows he's got 6 months left in office. He wants to continue to leave the DeSantis trademark on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So minimal research into what the impact will be. Just throw out something that will make everybody feel good. By golly, we're going to reduce your property taxes. And we're not going to look at and study what the consequence is. I'll even go as far as to say it could be that if they put together a little committee and went into half a dozen counties and a dozen cities and spent a couple of months really looking at their budgets, looking at where cuts could be made, and then saying, if we reduced X amount of property taxes in these areas, it would have minimal impact. Okay? They'd have to get rid of some of the fluff.
But show me the numbers.
But they don't do that.
Right.
They don't do that. They just come up with a big number. It's a bit of Trumpism. They come up with a big number that sounds good. We're going to reduce your property taxes by $250,000 with a homestead exemption. And it sounds good. It's an easy soundbite. Sounds good. People react to, oh, golly, that's great.
Yeah.
And bada bing, and DeSantis will likely pull this off. He doesn't have that much control on the voters in November, but if for some reason it were to fail at the ballot box, he would blame the voters and cheerfully go on to become Secretary of Defense.
Oh, don't start again. Okay, if you weren't with us last time, he's got a lot of machinations about how Ron DeSantis is going to be the next Secretary of Defense, and I think your deadline for that happening is already passed. But we won't go into that right now. I want to. Oh my goodness, my friend. No, it's not just the Joe Abruzzos of the world. Not long ago, we had the incoming mayor, the new mayor of Boca, Andy Thompson, longtime commissioner. He was saying the same thing. He said, I am looking, and we are looking at some really steep budget cuts. So I just wanted to point that out, that everybody, you're going to hear one municipal and county leader after another saying, okay, how do we work with this, or can we work with this?
Well, here's another thing to consider. If you move here after January 1st, 2027,
right,
you're not going to be eligible for this homestead exemption should it pass for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So all these new people that we keep saying, aren't we great? We're the fastest growing state in the world. Florida, oh my God, Florida, oh my God, Florida. But now we're telling the same new people who were so excited about coming here, no, you don't get the homestead exemption for 5 years, which might take away a little bit of their reason for coming here.
Yeah, we are living in interesting times, my friend.
Indeed, we are.
You talked about something, Brian. It's a parting gift, but it could also blow up in his face and that of state lawmakers. I mean, I can imagine a scenario. Okay, voters approve. First, it gets on the ballot, then voters approve it, and it could be the gift that keeps on giving, but not perhaps necessarily in the way that Republicans might expect. Again, assuming that it would clear all those hurdles, because if the worst projections of municipalities and counties come true, it's going to have a broad, deep, lasting impact that people on the campaign trail on both sides are going to talk about for a long time to come. You've covered that beat as much or more than anybody I know. Talk about that.
Well, let me just real quickly note that, the House Speaker Dan Perez, he and Ron DeSantis don't even talk to each other.
Right.
Perez has defied DeSantis on a number of issues. There is the potential, because of this warfare between DeSantis and Perez, that the House won't pass it. If the Speaker of the House encourages his members not to vote for it, then it doesn't pass.
Well,
but, as I said earlier, the sledgehammer he has over all those members is, I got the veto pen and you don't.
Well, we're going to find out, and we're going to be updating this one pretty quickly, because as this episode drops, they're in the middle of the session. So we're going to have an answer to that question pretty quickly, and we will, of course, update all of our loyal podcast viewers on that. It's a good point. Danny Perez was pretty cool, said, oh, good, he's finally come around to what we've been talking about. We look forward to seeing his specifics. I'm paraphrasing just a bit, but no friends they. So final thoughts on this, Brian. It's urgent. It's here. It's right now. It's one of the reasons we do the podcast, is to bring people up to speed about what's going on right now. And this is as right now as it gets in terms of the impact and the debates we're going to have on this, depending on where it goes.
Well, assuming it passes the legislature, what voters are going to have to think about come November is be careful what you wish for. And I think counties and cities should be very quickly telling people, if this passes in November, here are the services we're going to have to reduce. Explain why. I'd be the first to say that this includes the governor's office. Some of the salaries that cities, county, and state higher ups are paid can be a little ridiculous. I would also note as an aside that in the pending, in the budget that was passed, they didn't give a raise to state employees, and that's interesting as well. But voters, I hope that the cities and counties explain clearly what the impact will be on your community if this thing is passed in November. It may turn out that people look at that and go, well, I don't need that anyway, or I don't participate in that anyway. And, one of the difficulties we have, frankly, is snowbirds. They're here for their 6 months in a day, so they can say that they're Florida residents. They probably do 6 months in a day back in their homestead too. I don't know how they pull that off, but and often they don't care. They come here to spend their winters, so they don't often get all that involved in local government and local politics and local issues. So as long as they can get from their house to the golf course, they're usually pretty happy.
Well, and you do bring up an excellent point on the flip side of it. And now you could argue that this is an outgrowth of the cry that lawmakers have legitimately heard. Many would argue they also haven't addressed it enough, but about the affordability issues, the insurance issues, everything that people feel they're underneath. And so you can't imagine a lot of people saying, listen, I can live with you trying to do more with less because I own my home, as proponents of this argue. I'm underneath it every day, and I need a break. And if this is a way to do it, then so be it, and I'll live with the consequences because my budget will only go so far. And there are a lot of people for a lot of reasons who are saying exactly that. So it's going to be an enormously dynamic debate in the coming months. And you certainly, from that affordability point of view, I can see it. People just say, I'm hurt. Look, I just can't take it anymore. And you know what? If it means my roads aren't as good or this or that or the other, then I'll deal with it. But the debate, I think, will be as fierce and pointed on both sides. But from that perspective, which is a powerful one and an important one, you can certainly see why a lot of people said, I just need a break. I can't take it.
If you're a local government or county government leader anywhere in the state right now,
and
you're not talking about this issue, you're making a big mistake.
Yeah.
You have no business being in public office right now if you're not talking about an issue that could have an enormous impact, good or bad, your call, good or bad, on
your constituents.
So speak out.
Well, we will wrap this. Again, it's one of the reasons we love doing the podcast is we're able to tackle some of these urgent right now issues. And we literally, as we speak, and as this episode is, we say in the vernacular, dropping, we're right in the middle of this. But the issue itself, the timing of what's happening, that will come and go here in the next day or so. But the issue, the deeper part of the issue, is something, as you said, we'll be talking away about all the way to November. And then depending on what happens, well, first of all, if it makes the ballot, and if it does, and if it passes, we'll be talking about it for a long, long time to come. Final thought before we wrap this one up.
Final thought wrapping this up is we have another major issue coming in the coming days.
I've known you too long, so
what?
Go ahead. What's the other major issue?
It's rather shocking that you would react this way.
Yeah, that's all because I've known you forever.
The other major issue is I know that there's a young lad about to turn 2 years old.
My grandson. Yes, my grandson.
And I would just add, he's a mere 14 years away from his driver's license.
Good. The rest of my hair just sprouted gray.
And a mere 16 years away from being an adult. So
Thank you. Well, yeah. Maybe the self-driving cars.
The AI will be driving him around. He won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, Grandpa won't have to worry. Take it away with last words.
Well, I just want to say congratulations, Grandpa.
Thanks much.
And thank you for watching or listening to Top of Mind Florida. And I hope you subscribe. And if you want to comment, please do.